In this guide, you're going to discover the 2 most common reasons low elo players get stuck at their rank. My name's Hex. I'm a multi-season challenger player who's been teaching League of Legends here at Skillcapped for over 10 years. And in that time, I've noticed countless players make the same 2 mistakes that they don't even realize they're making. The worst part is usually these players have the fundamentals down, have good mechanics, and yet still find themselves unable to climb. If this sounds like you, then this is the guide you've been missing that will get you significant rank gains. How do I know that? Well, taking low ranked players and getting them results fast is kind of our whole thing here at Skillcapped. Take our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. Then pair that with our other new courses on how to counter OP top laners, OP mid laners, master your jungle clears, or check out our new Bronze to Diamond series. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, settings and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. Then head on over to our Smurf commentaries, select your champion to watch live commentaries from challenger experts, teaching you how to carry out of the exact rank you're stuck in. You can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using Skillcapped, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. You can unlock all of this right now through the discount you can only get from the link below. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, so here's the first thing keeping you stuck at your current rank. When you think of winning lane, obviously, you think about getting takedowns on your lane opponent. But what if I told you that's not actually the best way to win your lane? Let me explain. Here's a gold Victor. He gets a winning trade on the enemy Senna mid. Now, if the only way you know to win your lane is through gray screening the enemy, you end up very tunnel vision trying to force that takedown. And so, when the enemy jungler just comes on by, well, now you went from winning your lane to losing. Let me show you what you need to do instead. So, here's a game I'm playing on Victor in our new Bronze to Diamond course. I'm in a near identical position, having a big health lead. Here's what's going to be the difference though. The gold player tunneled and really overextended trying to get that takedown on Senna. In fact, the gold player actually had a lot more vision than me, but again, tunneling on that takedown meant they missed seeing the enemy jungler in the ward. However, whenever I'm in a winning position like this, I know to default into what's called the Smother Technique. This is something I learned from analyzing hundreds of solo queue games of Faker. The Smother Technique is simple, but a big change in mentality. You have to realize when you have a health lead like this on the enemy, if both of you just stay in lane, you're simply ahead. You'll have way more impact on any fight that breaks out nearby. They will constantly be more vulnerable to any ganks from your jungler, while you'll be nearly immune to any ganks from the enemy jungler. At the same time, the enemy laner won't be able to recall since they'll lose at least one minion wave. They'll also find it extremely hard to last hit since they're so low in health. Meanwhile, you're under no threat, so last hitting near perfectly becomes way easier. So as I crash this wave into Malphite's tower, I'm not making the mistake of focusing on getting a takedown on him. Instead, my mentality is, how can I keep him in this position as long as possible? And the answer to that is, well, he's no threat to me, only a gank can get him out of this position. So I'm just focusing on the map. I spot Shaco bot side, so I hug the top side of my lane. And look at the difference. I can easily survive this gank and maintain my winning position. Enemy Malphite recalls, so no takedown for us, that's fine. That means he loses a wave to the tower, we get to recall later, meaning we have more gold to buy more items and head back to lane. And as we get back to lane, that wave he was denied means we have one more wave of XP and we're level 6 before them. So let's use that to once again get a big health lead. And now that we have that health lead, watch how my main focus becomes conserving all my health while just chipping away at Malphite. In this moment right here, perfectly highlights embracing the smother mentality. So as I cast this E, I have both flash and Q up. I could easily just flash forward into Q auto to take down Malphite. However, that would actually be the only way I can throw my lane. Let me explain. If I flash forward, Malphite could react with an ult. Sure, he'd still die, but I would very likely be low on health after. Instead, look what the outcome is if you just look to apply the Smother Technique. There's literally only 3 options for the enemy Malphite. 1, he just recalls. That means he loses this entire wave and the next wave to the tower. 2, he stays. Well, then it's just a matter of time before he dies, unless he literally just stands at max experience range getting zoned. And 3, Shaco ganks for him. I can easily kill Malphite if he tries to help. Otherwise, I could possibly kill Shaco 1v1 if he doesn't, or I just easily survive and now Shaco wasted his time and Malphite is still stuck in the same position. This is why I like to refer to these positions as checkmate positions. The enemy has no way of getting out of it without losing something significant. And what do you know? I end up getting a kill anyways since Malphite feels like he has no other option than to engage. Once I'm back in lane, even though I know I have a huge lead, I'm not just running at at Malphite trying to force it. I'm always trading at my max range, this way if an enemy jungler ganks, I'm still safe, wasting their time. And again, shortly after we have another really key moment. I have E coming up, I have ult and flash. I could easily again just flash, ult into E on Malphite and look for the kill. But there's no need for that when I can just hold this position. This means when Shaco ganks me again, I have flash up to dodge Malphite's ult and my own ult for DPS, which is exactly why I'm then able to 1v2 and get a double kill. So here's what you need to take away from this. When you have a big health lead on the opponent, applying this Smother technique is nearly always better than trying to force a takedown. It creates many additional ways to generate leads. 1, the enemy jungler ganks you and wastes their time while you're still in a winning position after. 2, the enemy jungler ganks and ends up dying for it. 3, the enemy laner is forced to recall. You deny at least one wave of XP and gold and get to recall with an additional wave of gold to spend on items, and usually you end up a level. 4, the enemy sits there, unable to last it, bleeding out gold over time. Or 5, the enemy forces an engage on you, not seeing any other option, getting you that kill anyways. Basically, stop trying to win your lane by just killing the enemy. Shift your mentality to getting health leads and maintaining that winning position for as long as you can. Now, the second thing keeping you stuck at your rank is a macro concept you probably haven't heard before. Tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. You win your lane, you enter the mid game, and suddenly you can't seem to find a fair fight. The second you move off into a side lane to farm, your teammates force a losing fight without you. Or you're just stuck grouped mid, taking coin flip fights that you hope go your way while you bleed out farm in the side lane. So, at its core, the concept you're missing is that the best defense is often a good offense. Let me show you an example. Here's a gold Victor. He won his lane, you can see he has great farm with a kill and an assist, and now he's in the side lane farming. If we take a look mid, we can see how his team forces a fight and loses. Now, most players' instinct here is to retreat, head mid to defend that mid tower. The problem is, that simply isn't going to work. Let me explain why. In League, when it comes to decision making, you have to always factor in distance. If you look at Kai'Sa and Nami, you can see they're very close to pressuring that tower. I want you to compare that to the distance Victor has to travel to defend it. In spots like this, where the enemy is simply ahead of you due to this distance, they have what's called a tempo advantage. You simply won't be able to defend in spots like these, and so your best choice is to continue your own pressure in the lane you're currently in. If we jump back, we can see that Lucian, that we're ahead of, is very low in mana and is missing some health. We should be looking to pressure this lane with our advantage. When you have an advantage in a side lane like this, it's very similar to the Smother technique. We can force checkmate positions such as 1, we kill Lucian, the tower is now undefended, enemy has to send defenders or lose a tower worth 700 gold. 2, we pull multiple enemy defenders to us in order to help Lucian, so we can simply recall or rotate off to collapse on mid at that point. Now, why do I say collapsing on mid at that point is good, whereas in the game Victor tried to collapse on mid and just got destroyed for doing it? It has to do with number advantages. When Victor looks to defend mid here, he's heading there by himself. It's at best going to be a 1v2 for the enemy. Instead, let's look at a near identical clip. Victor starts it in a side lane with the pressure advantage. His team gets caught mid, losing the fight, and now Victor's team is down 2 teammates, and yet, look how pressuring bot lured both Kai'Sa and Singed to defend, along with a Mumu trying to make a pick on him. Great, let's pause here. Remember what we said earlier about distance? Well, Victor can react to mid well before Kai'Sa, Singed, and a Mumu due to the distance advantage. So, by luring 3 defenders to the side lane, he gets a positional advantage to collapse on mid, where now he has the number advantage despite being down 2 teammates during that entire sequence. And after that, the enemy team makes the mistake we just taught you to avoid. They try to react despite being behind in distance/tempo, and so now they're fighting down numbers, and that's how this one macro tactic can turn losing plays into winning ones. This concept of using your attack as a way to defend is often a key piece of macro knowledge that keeps players stuck. For example, here Victor is in the side lane, pressuring the top tower, his team gets Dragon, and for whatever reason forces a losing fight after. Now, let's pause here. Look at how close the enemy is to points of attack, such as mid tower and bot tower. So, we're behind in distance, and thus behind in tempo. At the same time, we're behind in numbers. 3 of our teammates are dead. You now know that trying to defend is going to be a bad idea. We should continue using our own pressure on this tower as a way to pull enemies off of their attack. Instead, Victor tries to defend, and that's a free Baron for the enemy team we could have prevented if we just continued our attack on the side lane. Don't believe me? Well, this is actually such a common scenario, I have tons of clips of it. Here, I'm recalling, but my team takes a losing team fight, so now the enemy can take the Baron. I know I can't defend the Baron, and recalling is pointless, so I opt to pressure the side lane, hoping enemies make the mistake of responding. Sure enough, Akshan peels off Baron to fight us. Well, that's a kill for us, which then causes Teemo to peel off to try and kill us too. Great, now the enemy only has 3 players taking Baron. That creates not only an opportunity for our Lux to steal it, but our Tryndamere can teleport in, Akali can collapse from mid, and that's a number advantage fight for us. Suddenly, we just got massively ahead just by looking to attack instead of defend. Here, I'm in a near identical position to Victor, pushing a side lane while the enemy goes for Baron. In this case, the enemy commits to Baron instead of sending defenders, and so I actually get to just end the game off it. Here, another identical position to Victor, pushing a side lane while the enemy goes for Baron. In this case, they commit to Baron as well instead of defending, so I get a free inhibitor. By the way, this exact same principle of attacking to defend is what you do as a response to an enemy roaming. A super common mistake in lane is the enemy will go off at roam and then the player will follow them, but they're behind in distance, aka tempo, and so they'll never get to that fight in time to make a positive impact. Instead, if an enemy roams first and you're behind in tempo, the response should be to continue pushing. This nets you minions and turret plates while forcing the enemy to stop their roam and come back unless they want to fall extremely far behind. Also, in case you didn't know, it's a myth that a winning teamfight is worth more than an empty side lane. For example, here the enemy team gets 1 kill, that's 450 gold from the kill and assist, and then a Rift Herald, that's 200 gold. Tristana is just going to push an empty side lane during this time. She starts with 9,300 total gold, and just by pushing an empty lane, she ends it with 10,400. She just gained 1,100 gold, and that's not even shared, it's all funneled on her. Well, here, Kai'Sa pushes an empty lane, getting 1, 2, 3 waves. That's 450 gold. She then gets 700 gold from the inner side lane turret, and a Gromp, that's 80 gold. So we got 1,230 gold from this play. That's the equivalent of 4 kills. During that time, Kai'Sa's team lost a teamfight, killing their Diana, Garen, and Lux. However, and this is so important, this gold will always be spread out in some way for the enemy. Caitlyn got 1 kill, Corki got 1 kill, and Echo got 1 kill. When you factor in assists, that means each of them gained 450 gold each. Not to mention, since they're grouped, they're splitting the golden XP from minions with their teammates. This is why this strategy works. Even if the worst case scenario happens and your whole team dies, you're still going to come out ahead because that golden XP is being split amongst the enemy team while you're just funneling all that golden XP on yourself. And it's important to understand that gold scales extremely well due to how items synergize with each other. Now, I want to be clear about what the core lesson is here. I'm not saying that you should just always be AFK pushing a side lane. I'm also not saying that split pushing in side lanes is just always the better option than grouping. Instead, there's a very specific mistake you're likely making that you need to fix. It's when you're already in a lane and suddenly your team takes a losing team fight or the enemy pressures an objective or tower. You have to be aware the vast majority of the time trying to defend is a mistake since you're too far away and behind in tempo. Often, your only good play in that position is going to be to continue pushing and committing to pressuring that lane you're already in. Alright, now if you want to discover the secrets to carrying bad teammates and finally escaping low elo, then take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. Pair that with our other new courses on how to counter OP top laners, OP mid laners, master your jungle clears, or check out our new Bronze to Diamond series. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, settings and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. Then head on over to our Smurf commentary, select your champion to watch live commentaries from challenger experts, teaching you how to carry out of the exact rank you're stuck in. You can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using skill capped, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. You can unlock all of this right now through the discount you can only get from the link below. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, that will do it for this one. We here at Skill Capped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.